will follow.
Hello and welcome to Trinity Talk Live, water cooler conversation from a Christian perspective. I am Ken Coughlin, and we are getting things back to normal this week. For those of you who watched our show last week know we stepped aside a little bit from our usual panel discussion format, but we're getting right back into it today with a little bit of a holiday twist. In order to get into that holiday twist, why don't I introduce my guest for today? We've got two new guests at the table today. Seated over here to my left to begin with, this is Jen Merkel. Jen is primarily a homeschooling mom and has been for the past 23 years. She's been a professional organizer for 10 years, and she really loves working with people in that capacity. She has a business, her own business. It's called New Leaf Organizing Services, and we're going to put her contact information here on the screen. It's also going to appear in the show notes. She is a parishioner at St. Patrick's Church in Havre de Grace, Maryland, and is involved in both the Respect Life and the Homeschool Ministries. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming, Jen.
Thank you, Ken.
And seated to my right is Phyllis Ostendorf. And Phyllis is married, and she and her husband have been members here at Trinity for over 30 years and have served on a number of boards here. She has 4 adult children and has also worked for and volunteered with Harford County Parks and Rec since 1999. We have that in common, although I do not have claims since 1999. You got me there. In addition to being a homemaker, she works at Kelly Payroll in Sparks, Maryland, and has worked in payroll and human resources for the past 35 years for several companies. She also has her own side business called Top Shelf Events. We'll have her contact information on the screen and in the show notes as well. She caters to people looking for help during their holiday parties. I wonder why I asked these two people to be on this show. No idea. She has an on-call staff ready to work your event so you can enjoy the party you spent so much time planning and preparing for. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Phyllis.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So we are going to launch into our current event segment. What do you say?
Sounds good.
All right. So got 3 stories today. We've all likely heard about the tragic shooting that occurred a little over a week ago at the First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs, Texas, in which 26 people were killed. The shooter was pursued and eventually stopped by a gentleman named Stephen Williford. Now Mr. Williford, along with everyone else who's been affected by the incident, is in need of prayers. He wasn't in the church at the time the shooting began. He was actually in his home nearby, but he did hear the gunshots. Rather than hiding himself somewhere safe, however, he got his own firearm and he ran to the church where he confronted the shooter and wounded him. The shooter fled and was later found dead by the police. The story here is not so much about the shooting, but more about Mr. Williford himself. Afterwards, Mr. Williford said, "I think my God, my Lord, protected me and gave me the skills to do what needed to be done. I just wish I'd gotten there faster." However, since then, Williford has been extremely distraught, and his friends are concerned he may be suffering from PTSD over the event. He has a friend, John Wood, who is asking the public to keep Mr. Williford in their prayers. Our second story today comes from the International Broadcasting Awards. On November 1st, they held their annual ceremony in London, and they gave the prize for the Best Human Interest documentary to an 8-episode series called The Surgery Ship. The series chronicles the work of the Christian charity Mercy Ships. Mercy Ships' website describes their mission this way. It says, many people in Africa have little or no access to health care. There are only 2.5 physicians per 10,000 people in Africa compared to 25 physicians per 10,000 in the U.S. So the Africa Mercy brings volunteer medical teams and sterile operating rooms directly to people who would otherwise go without care. It's the world's largest civilian hospital ship, providing state-of-the-art care to those in desperate need free of charge. The producer of the documentary, Madeline Heatherton, said, "I'm delighted to receive this award. We are immensely proud of the series. Documenting the extraordinary work of Mercy Ships has been a privilege, and we hope it continues to be seen widely." Our final story for the day comes from Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington is a 7-time acting nominee and 2-time winner of the Academy Award. He is also an outspoken Christian. Recently, while speaking to the Christian Post about his upcoming film Roman J. Israel Esquire, he warned Christian millennials about the dangers of getting addicted to social media. But he also encouraged them that when they do use it, they should use it to speak out about their faith. Washington said, "My mother said to me when I was 59, Denzel, you do a lot of good. You have to do good the right way, and you know what I'm talking about. I don't drink anymore. I don't do any of those things. I'm all about the message to the degree that I know it. And I'm unashamed and unafraid to share it. So you have to be unafraid and unashamed to share it in the way your millennial generation knows how. So those are our 3 stories for the day. Why don't we start over here with Jen, and let me ask you if anything there stood out to you that you want to share with the audience.
Well, actually, it's really interesting, the story about Denzel Washington. I've taught confirmation classes, and I've talked to the kids about, sometimes you have to give them an assignment. You say, okay, this week you're going to go out and you're going to tweet, or you're going to post something on Facebook that's, specific to your faith, and share your faith with those people in your circles. Sometimes you have to kind of give them a little push, and then it's interesting to hear what they come back with later, the comments they got, or the things that, they're sharing their faith, but they're also having their faith affirmed. And I love Denzel Washington. I've always thought he was a great guy. So this is a really neat story. I really liked it.
I think people, the younger generation, I think maybe encouraging them a little bit can help them realize it and recognize those opportunities when they arise. Because I know my daughter was on the show back in August, and she was talking about a time when she was in school and just, I'm not going to go into all the details. You can watch the show back in August if you want to, but she was sharing how she was just in one of her classrooms, and all these kids started having this conversation around her, and she quickly realized that it was an opportunity. It was a door being opened for her to share her faith and talk about her faith with them. And it's just like you say, it was an opportunity for her to reach them, but also she found, I think, strengthening herself from going through it, So anything stand out to you, Phyllis, you want to talk about?
Well, I think that it's a good idea that someone in the celebrity status that Denzel Washington has proclaimed his Christianity. I mean, Hollywood is just
not.
And, so many of our children idolize the stars, and you see what they see on social media and then on YouTube and different channels on cable. And, it's a great thing that there's someone that's turning it around and talking about the good.
Sometimes I wonder, and this could be completely wrong, but you look down, if you think of the Hollywood celebrities who have publicly proclaimed and are known to be Christian. I mean, you talk about Denzel Washington, you talk about Chris Pratt, who stars in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and all that, and I know I'm missing some, there's others out there, but part of me looks at Denzel Washington and I say, okay, Hollywood generally, like you're saying, is not Christian. He very much is. But can you really hurt Denzel Washington's career? I mean, he's gotten to a point in his career where he's Denzel Washington. You know what? You're going to want him in your movie, no matter what. I wonder if a more up-and-coming actor would feel as free to express their faith as someone like Denzel Washington or like Chris Pratt does.
Exactly.
So, anyway, very good. Well, that's our whatever segment we just did. Current events, that's it. Let's go on. I was about to say that's our topic of the week. That's it, show's over. No. Let's move on to our topic of the week, what do you say? Our topic of the week this week is how to keep the stress of the holidays at bay. And I want to kind of start out with I guess you could call it a fourth current event story, if you will. According to Linda Blair, she's a clinical psychologist in Great Britain, and she says that listening to Christmas music too early can actually be harmful to your mental health. Blair claims that the constant barrage of Christmas tunes too early in the season forces people to dwell on all the things they have to get done before the holiday. They are a constant reminder about all the presents we still need to buy, the parties we need to organize, the traveling, and everything stressful about the holiday. Blair says you're simply spending all of your energy trying not to hear what you're hearing. She says store workers are at the highest risk because they are exposed to listening to the same songs over and over again every day at their jobs. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, she says it is. I personally wouldn't mind. I listen to Christmas music in July, and I seem to be perfectly cheery about it. But I understand the point she's trying to make is that we all get to this time of year, and it seems like there's so much we need to plan for, organize, or whatever, even if we're not the ones doing the hosting, but sometimes we are the ones doing the hosting. It just seems like there's so much that's bearing down on us that it kind of gets in the way of the spirit of the holidays itself. So I kind of wanted to have a show here to kind of give some advice to people about how to not let that get out of control, how to maybe think about things, organize things, plan things, whatever, in a better way so that they don't feel that kind of stress coming down on them, so to speak. So I guess the question is, we all know the stress is out there. What do we do about it? So who wants to go first? Somebody other than me. That's the only criteria.
Well, I think some of the things you had talked about in the notes you sent us hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's planning, and it's not planning the week or a couple days before the event. It's planning weeks or months ahead of time. Anyone that works at a job, even here, just volunteering for boards, in January, we're looking ahead for the next entire year. And you don't want to feel like you have to do that for a Christmas party you're throwing, but basically you really do. You have to have the thoughts running around in your head. You have to start thinking about who you're going to be inviting, how is that going to be, your theme, getting the house ready, and there is a lot to do, and it's really needs time to be spaced out.
Do you have any recommendation? Do you do events for like individual, like if a family comes in and it says, I'm going to host a big party at my house? Is that the type of thing that your business is involved in?
Well, yeah, I have no problem. I can sit down with the person that's planning the party, go over things that they need to start thinking about, like the invitations and the menu. But basically, what we really enjoy doing is to go into the party and work the party, keeping the food filled, washing up the dishes, so that person that spent so much time planning and getting ready for the party herself or himself can enjoy it. I mean, how many times have you been a host, hosted your own party, and basically all you've done is run around the entire day or night and just kept tabs on everyone to make sure everybody's happy and having a good time, and then by the end of the night you're saying goodbye to the last person and you collapse and you feel like, wow, I never got to talk to so-and-so, or because all you did was run around and fill drinks and keep food filled. Yeah. So that's kind of what I like to think about. People that enjoy working parties like that and just letting the host and hostess enjoy.
And be part of the party, not...
Be part of the party, not... Yeah.
So, Jen, let me ask, what advice would you give to somebody who, maybe not necessarily in a party atmosphere, but, there's a lot of other things other than just parties, although I've got a feeling we're going to come back to that because that's a big thing that goes on this time of year, needless to say. But you've also got people that want to do things like Christmas cards, shopping, wrapping the presents. I was very proud last year that we started wrapping our Christmas presents on December 23rd this year. I mean, that was an accomplishment for us. Okay, so, what kind of mistakes do you see people making typically when it comes to organization of their life in times like this?
Of time.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, we really adhere to the liturgical year. And Advent is a time of preparation, but it's also supposed to be a time of peace. You're supposed to be preparing your heart, not just your space. And so I really try to help people, portion out their time so that the calendar doesn't, go from nothing to, like 15 different things Christmas week. Because, you're supposed to be preparing for Christ's birth. And I know, that's in our culture, it's really, a lot of racing up to the day. But, one of the things with time that I really like to see people do is, think about the season you're living. Are you a mom with a bunch of little kids? Are you a grandma? Are you an older adult? And live in that season for that year. Because, if you've got a bunch of little kids, you aren't going to be trying to attend, pick one or two events, a live nativity, or, go caroling, or something like that, something that fits the season of your life, rather than trying to do everything everyone invites you to, and worrying because, you're going to try to do 3 things tonight, and let's see, well, at 6 we've got this, and if we leave a little bit early, we can get to this other thing at 8:30, and we can run home, throw the kids in bed, and get to the adult party at 9. By the end, it's like the party. By the end of the season, you don't even know, it's just too hard to wrap your head around all that.
Right, it's like, how did I get here?
Right.
Where did it all go?
Exactly. And do the kids even remember that fun time that they had? Because you've been throwing them in the car and pulling them out of the car, So I really think, making your list, sit down as a family, or sit down with your husband if your kids are little, make a list of all the things you could possibly do, every single thing you could possibly do, and then together prioritize the things you really want to make at the top of your list and put them on the calendar. And the calendar is you're going to do all those things. And then plan your other things, fill in the time around those well. Make it quality time at home. Make sure you get, when you bake, make it meaningful. Make it something that the whole family participates in and that you're really dwelling in the time. So when you get to Christmas, you've experienced Advent. You've experienced that time,
I see almost a microcosm, macrocosm analogy here. I don't know, maybe I'm completely out to lunch. But when you're saying things about, make a list as far as what, prioritize what's the important things to do, is that something when you're talking about on a specific event level that people need to do as well?
Yes.
'Cause I think I could see people wanting to do, I want to have the party to end all parties or something like that, but you ever have to sit down with someone and say, okay, let's define what exactly you're trying to do here?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was saying you have to be thinking ahead. The theme of your party, when you want to have it. And it's crazy, but we were just trying to get something together the other night for my daughter's birthday, and she wants her cousins to come, and they all pulled their phones out, and they're like, oh, that weekend's gone. We're all the way into December just for getting together for a little birthday party. And, it's like with holiday things coming up, like you said, there's, pageants and there's choirs to sing. You want to see all of it because you feel like that, seeing all that gets you in the spirit.
Right.
Whereas I'm just perfectly happy having that day at home if my kids came over and we did bake or wrapped gifts or had It's a Wonderful Life on TV. That's, to me, is a great day.
Or at the Havre de Grace Opera House on December 8th and 9th. Sorry.
That is also a good point, Ken.
That's called a shameless plug.
And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I recently had an experience. My wife can vouch for this. I guess this is a spoiler alert. I'm not preaching at the December, what's that? 13th, thank you. December 13th Advent service. Here at Trinity we have Wednesday night Advent services. I guess I have to tell Pastor Paul no before this airs then, right? Because I haven't actually told him that yet. But he asked me if I would be willing to preach at this particular service, Wednesday night service coming up. And I don't want to spoil what the theme was, but he kind of told me what it was supposed to be. And it was definitely something that is so up my alley. I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. But, I'm smart enough to know that my wife knows my calendar better than I do. So I said, better go talk to her, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. And I knew at the time that it did conflict with the rehearsal for It's a Wonderful Life. Or not for It's a Wonderful Life. We're done with that by then for another play that I'm working on, that I'm directing. But it's that play's had enough other rehearsals. We probably could miss one. And so I was like, okay, I'll maybe I can just miss the rehearsal and still do the preaching. And then we found out that my son's chorus and orchestra concert is the same night. And it's really sometimes this time of year feels like you're getting pulled in multiple different directions. And it was a lesson to me about a lot what you guys are saying. It's like I had to learn. It's like, no, as much as I might want to do this and enjoy to do this, I can't do everything. I've got to be willing to say no.
Right.
So.
And then obviously your children take a priority
Yeah.
over everything.
So yeah, the concert wins.
The
Out
concert
of everything
wins,
else,
right.
the concert, the one thing that's going to stay on that night is the concert. So how do you both talked about the importance of prioritizing? All right. I know a lot of people, myself included, have trouble with that. Deciding. Now, this case, the example I just gave you was pretty easy. My son comes first, but it's not always that easy. So what advice would you have to people about how to make those decisions, about how to figure out, okay, this is what we're going to do, and this we're not?
Well, I think one thing, and I know you probably see this as well when you work with families, there are traditions and there are things you want to have become traditions. And I think if there's something that's really meaningful to the family, whether it's the extended family or just, within your four walls, those things need to be prioritized, because if you let it slip 1 or 2 or 3 years, if it isn't part of the kid's life, it won't stick. And it might be something that, you've done for generations. Those, to me, are a priority, those activities or events. And then I think, I guess, I shouldn't say this, but I mean.
That's okay. I just said something to announce to my pastor that I can't do the sermon that he already asked me to do, and I hadn't told him yet. So
I think work, like if there's a work party or if there are work obligations that you have to go to that Christmas party, but it conflicts with something that your kids are doing. I think it's easier. Your boss understands better than your kids. That you just can't be there. You can't be in 2 places at once. Mm-hmm. And then with other people, I mean, there's ways you can combine, have a party to see all of those people, or just, go caroling together, or do something so that you can see a lot of those people that you want to prioritize into your life for the holidays, but, you can't see everyone at different times. So that would be one way to do that.
And also, I think that people's schedules have gotten so busy now. There's so many events, so many different, not just events like parties people are personally having, but just things in the community that you want to see, that when someone does ask you to come or do something, it's not even at the point where you have to make up something to get out of it. Like I know you had mentioned the Aunt Chloe sweater party.
Pastor Paul, I didn't make up any of that. It's really true, everything I just said.
It's actually, like I said, people pull their phones out now on their calendar, and you can look right at it and see every night's booked, every weekend's booked, and it's not even like you're having a little fib that you wanted to get out of something. You possibly already have something planned before they ask you, which was back to my point of sitting on the beach in August thinking, let's start thinking about shopping at the outlet for Christmas gifts.
I mean,
in August.
But is there such a thing as too early to start planning for events like that?
I don't think so. I think if you have a thought, something comes in your mind, a theme, something that you really think that would be so much fun to do with my friends, jot it down and start keep a journal of things that I want to, do sometime in the near future, related to something coming up, like a holiday party or.
I think that's a good idea. Keeping kind of a journal, keeping it written, because we all think of things sometimes, and then they're gone the next minute.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, these new planners, have you seen the ones where they have like the mind maps and they do, like you can plan a party, your ultimate party, and there's ways to use color and mind mapping and all of these things. That's really awesome.
Well, I haven't seen that.
It's well, it's kind of a new. It's trendy. It's right now the.
Well, that's why I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But what you're saying, I just love that, because once you verbalize it or write it down, it tends to become real, and then it tends to be something that you can engage other people in, and the plan starts to gel, and then it kind of rolls from there.
I'll tell you something else that just writing down helps with me. We're talking about prioritizing, and sometimes what I'll do is I'm very visual, and I know probably not everybody's like this, but when I need to try to figure out, what do I need to get done when, I need to actually, sometimes it's like a mental picture. If I have it all sitting in front of me, I can look at it and almost kind of move things around in my mind. So, okay, this goes up here, this goes down here, but I have to actually have them all sitting there in front of me. And so, sometimes just making a list of things that you want to either need to get done or want to get done can help you maybe figure out what's the really important stuff and what needs to be done now, what can wait till later. So.
And Jen, I wanted to say what you had just mentioned about when you do things year after year and that kind of becomes your family tradition. I totally agree with that. For many years, we would go to a tree farm and either cut down a tree or buy the bald tree. And then we got to the point where our yard had so many trees that we had to stop doing that. And then we actually moved, and it was sad because the backyard had all of our Christmas trees in it, which I don't know if they're still there, but maybe
Somebody
they are.
started a tree farm in your old
Yeah,
backyard.
exactly. But my older children, they probably remember that, but by the time we got to my youngest daughter, we weren't doing that anymore. So it is good that when you start doing those traditions, you kind of do them year after year just to, so everyone can remember, have that memory.
Yeah.
We did almost lose our Christmas tree tradition one year. We also go out to tree farm every year and get we have two Christmas trees in our. We have an artificial tree, and then we always cut down a tree, usually a little bit smaller, real tree, but it's kind of tradition. The kids enjoy doing it. We go out and get one. There's one year, and I'm not going to call out the tree farm by name because that's not nice, but we came home with a tree. You got to know something about my wife. My wife loves every one of God's creatures on this earth except for one, and that's spiders. She would be perfectly happy if all the spiders just disintegrated off the face of this planet instantaneously. And we brought home this Christmas tree, and I don't know what it was, but it was covered in spiders. I mean, they were all over the place. And so I spent Christmas just getting rid of spiders all season long. And so I sincerely thought that year was going to be like a PTSD. And from that point on, we were never going to get another real tree again in the future. But we did. We just never went back to that tree farm again.
Maybe you need to shake it out a little bit more.
Well, they usually do, and I thought they would shake it out.
Spray it.
Either they didn't shake it, or those spiders have one heck of a grip.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that would do it for me. Or a snake. Snake in the tree would definitely do it.
We do have a snake that lives under our front porch, so if you ever come to visit, just watch your step.
I'll come in the back door.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to share? Anything we haven't covered that you really want to make sure you got in today, as far as advice you would give to people this time of year, as far as maintaining their sanity?
Okay. So one thing that I know everyone did last January 3rd was they threw everything in storage and shut the door and didn't look at it again until probably 2 weeks from now. So we usually do we start our decorating right after Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. I'm not really into decorating at Halloween. It's just, I need to do my holidays in order. But one thing I really strongly suggest as people get out their holiday decorations before the holiday is to purge anything that you've put in or out of a box, preparing to, like if you haven't used it for 3 or 4 years, get rid of it before the holiday starts because that's when people go looking for holiday, like at Goodwill or places like that. Mm-hmm. If you're going to donate or if you're going to give it to your kids, maybe there's been a little box of ornaments that you've been meaning to give to the kids for, like 5 years that don't live in your home. Go ahead and do that before the holiday. And then it's going to be a lot easier to put everything away. And also, the organizing industry has really made it easy now because they've got all of these awesome colored bins for different seasons. So get those before January this year. And that will make next fall a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
Well, it also might be easier to get rid of it before the holiday begins because I'm just thinking from a purely emotional standpoint. If I'm out there and I'm ready to decorate and I pull out this decoration, I haven't seen this in 5 years, all of a sudden there's a nostalgia factor that kicks in. It's like,
that's the problem.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, and the sentimentality of different things that
makes us hold on to things that we should be letting go of.
I'm the number one pack rat. My husband will tell you he can't stand it, but the entire attic in the garage is filled with boxes of Christmas decorations, and like you said, they all get brought down every year, and then I go through and I decorate the same areas in the home, and then at the end everything gets put away, and all the things that didn't even get touched or used get put back up in the attic, and we start all over again.
Well, it makes a big job a little bigger than it needs to be, but I guess, I was kind of laughing because one of the notes said something about renting a storage unit, and I'm like, no, don't rent a storage unit.
I thought about
for your
how
Christmas
many
stuff.
decorations do you have that you would pay for a storage unit month after month?
Because one of the things we do is try to get people out from under their storage unit because it's so expensive.
That story in the show notes. And just so people that don't know, any research I do, I just copy, paste, and I send it out to them ahead of time. I don't know if you clicked on that link. There's a reason that one of the tips was to rent a storage unit, because that list was put out by
a storage company.
Okay.
Because I went
Shamefully
looking, and I was
drumming
like,
up business
where
for
did this
themselves.
come from? Oh, easy storage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so there you go. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. That was very good. Hopefully there's something out there that'll help you keep your sanity here this holiday season, because I know it's always a big struggle for me. So, hey, if you did like this video, do me a favor. Go ahead and click the like button. That's a thumbs up button here on the YouTube page. Also, if you could, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That not only helps you stay up to date on everything that we have putting out here on the Trinity Joppa channel, but it also helps it make it easier for you to find us, whether you're using your Roku, Apple TV, your phone, your tablet, whatever it may be. You can find our channel a whole lot easier if you subscribe to it. Also, please, if you don't mind, go ahead and if you're on Facebook, check out our Facebook page. Trinity Talk Live does have its own Facebook page. It's at Trinity Talk Live Podcast. You can use that to give us feedback. We do put little tidbits up there every single week in the middle of the week to let people know about what we have coming up, and sometimes just a few cute little offerings. And I'm going to have words with my wife later. She's behind camera making fun of me right now because I made this speech over and over and over again. I love you too, Mary Kay. Anyway, we're going to be back again next week. Next week, our topic is going to be, I'm going to scroll down until I find it here, how do we maintain an attitude of gratitude? That's going to be a really important thing. It's a lot of the episodes we're going to be dealing with, though, this week and over the next 3 weeks are going to be help you keep in the holiday spirit. And given that Thanksgiving is coming up, again, lots of times it's easy to lose focus, and we want to talk a little bit about how do you keep that gratitude in your heart at this time of year and not allow other things to get in the way and block it out. So we hope you're going to be able to join us again next week. Allow me once again to say a very special thank you to my guest. Thank you very much to Jen Merkel. Her business is New Leaf Organizing Services. And thank you again to Phyllis Ostendorf. Her business is Top Shelf Events. Again, their information is on the screen. It'll also be in the show notes. And that's all I got. So thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in, and God bless.
In your word we will follow.